The No New Friends podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. For the best in below-the-waist grooming, check out manscaped.com. Use the promo code NNF for 20% off your purchase. That's manscaped.com.
Welcome to the No New Friends podcast, the podcast for adults who love to laugh at adulting. Join Scott, Mary, Chris, and Sarah as they discuss adulting topics that may not be suitable for little ears. Unless you are a small adult like Chris. And then it's fine.
Things get intense at this point, okay? The corset comes off. And
what's under the corset?
it's like a brassiere.
Brassiere?
A bra.
Okay, what?
Well, this is a fancy place. You have to call it the full name.
No. Did you see her breast, Scott? Is that what, were you excited
Sound like
about?
a doctor.
I know, what, a brassiere?
Mary feels like she's in school right now.
I don't even know what did Rachel bring a pocketbook with her? What the hell are you talking about right now?
Did you get nervous and check your pocket watch?
Yeah, like,
Listen,
good
pocket watches would have
God.
fit in this place because it was a very classy establishment.
Sounds like would have fit in a lot of places.
It
Doesn't sound very
it
classy.
doesn't sound like it would fit in your pants. I don't know.
No, nothing fit my pants. My cigarettes had to go in Rachel's pocketbook because I could not put them in my pants. Okay, so in the fancy brassiere with the thong, but then the brassiere comes off and she's got the booby tassels. She's got the booby tassels.
How are you going to go from brassiere to booby tassel?
Well, there was no tassel, but they were glittery and they were covering the
That's a
areola and
pasty.
nipples. No, they weren't pasties. Pasties are see-through.
An areola is a nipple.
No, they're not.
What?
Not all of them.
No, I have
No,
some.
pasties are not.
Listen, have you ever been to a Daytona Beach bike week?
Literally, and I'm sure
There's
they're
a
just
lot of
they're very
pasties.
close to the same class as what Scott experienced. It's almost the same thing.
That's unfortunate.
And now it's time for the No New Friends podcast with Scott, Mary, Chris, and Sarah.
Minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
That's right. You're listening to the No New Friends podcast, voted number 1 by our friends and family. We are the podcast for adults who like to laugh at adulting. If you'd like to connect with us on all of our social media links are right there on our website, nonewfriendspodcast.com. While you're there, you can check out our sweet merchandise or join our clubhouse. Become a friend with benefits. That's our Patreon. You can watch us record these things as they're happening live. My name is Scott. I am the host. With me, my co-host. I'm an architect for her pain, the queen of wokeness, Mary.
Oh, I like this one this time. Mary.
Everybody's favorite food truck critic, Sarah.
Hello.
And the Ghostbusters called. They want their big giant marshmallow man back. The scumbag reselling hoarder himself, Chris.
Carpe diem. Seize the day, boys. Make your lives extraordinary.
Dead Poet Society.
Yes. What year did it come out?
I have no idea. 1990.
Take a guess.
1992.
91.
You got the first two digits right. 1989.
89. Okay.
1989.
That
was a good
It
year.
almost also sounded like something that the penguins from Madagascar would say too. I don't know.
That is true.
Right? Like it could be both.
And our producer, Alex.
Hola.
You ever realize, like, whenever somebody says an old year, everyone says, that was a good year. And everyone always just agrees because they don't remember what happened that year.
Well, it's about the wine. That's what they're talking, but they're referring to how the wine harvest was, the grape harvest in the vineyards.
I'd believe that.
No, that's what they're referring.
Everything is better than what's happening right now. Is
Right,
also
no, it's-
maybe what they're referencing. I was in class today and there's some younger girls in my cohort, and my professor, we were talking about like signs of noticing that people are depressed. And I was like, well, step one, if they're a millennial, just look at their date of birth. And then we said something about sitting in the shower and listening to the Fray. And one girl was like, what's the Fray? And I turned around. I did like a full, like real fast, like turn around, like what? And then I was like, what about Snow Patrol? No, nothing. Like
Isn't that
nothing
movie
out of
with
you for this?
Cuba?
I hate you so much. Anyways, we spent 10 minutes educating a girl about who the Fray was. So if you don't feel old today, I do. Continue
well, I definitely don't feel safe in the hospitals now because 10 minutes of lesson plan is on the Fray. So
it's true, you shouldn't. Well, also, if I were your nurse, I mean, you're in good hands. If you
yes,
have,
I am. Yes, I am.
Oh my god!
I understood that reference. All right.
So, Mary, do you and Mike still have date nights? Like, where it's just you and Mike?
Yes.
Okay, Chris, I know you and Emily like every Friday night, right?
Yes.
Oh my god! Every Friday night. Oh my.
Well, listen, date night isn't always going out. Date night could just be hanging out on the couch watching Netflix.
But isn't that what you do every night? Like every night is date night.
No, because I'm Scott's slave. I'm here most nights.
He's a slave, but now for a Jew.
What? Now,
Sorry,
Sarah,
I don't know how you became the butt of these jokes. I'm so sorry. I don't.
You and Lewis do like a lot of day dates. You go to the theme parks, but do you do like night dates or anything like that?
We do.
I did.
Yeah, we have like a weekly Chili's margarita night.
Oh, I love that.
Oh.
Yeah.
You get the chips and salsa. My fat ass. I need to know what snacks you had.
It used to be $5 Presidente margaritas on Thursdays. So we started doing that. Like every Thursday we'd go there for these margaritas. And then they took it away, but we never wanted to stop.
Uncultured swines. Hey, do you know who has a Thursday date deal? Is Melting Pot.
Oh. I love Melting Pot.
Now it's called Thursday date.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You should try
No,
it.
you don't, Scott. You hate diversity.
As he drinks his Bud Light.
The restaurant.
Yeah, the restaurant. Yeah. I just hate having to cook my own food. So
yeah, we know.
Rachel and I have complete opposite schedules. She works like a normal Monday through Friday job, and I'm in restaurant, not a cool restaurant like Sarah where it's just breakfast and lunch, and like she's out by 2 p.m. Like I work nights and all that. So we had a date night last night, and
it's wonderful. Did you wine and dine her? Did you give her some burnt ass salmon or like what?
No, we actually went out. She approached me earlier in the day. First of all, she decided that she was going to stay home.
Have you recovered from when she actually approached you and was close to you?
Anyway, so she approached me earlier in the day. She said, "Hey, I'm going to stay home from work today." Which immediate panic set in because I needed to edit the After Dark episode. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? And I'm supposed to record with Chuck LaFlange, his episode and all that. So I'm in a panic. I'm shifting things around. I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. What do you want to do? And she's like, I don't know. What do you want to do? The usual couple thing. And I said, why don't we go to Mardi Gras? We've been trying to go to Mardi Gras at Universal Studios for like 3 months now and haven't made it out there. And she's like, yeah, that's great. She's like, but do you want to go to a burlesque show tonight? And I'm like,
Jigga who?
What? Who? And I said, well,
it's a trap. It's a trap.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I do open tomorrow. Like that means I'm up at 3:30 in the morning. She's like, well, no, I'll just go by myself. Which means no.
Also a trap.
Right. And I'm like, no. Yeah. I want to go. She'd been talking about this burlesque troupe for years. It's called Corsets and Cuties.
Oh my God, one of Zoe's friends' parents are like moms is in that show.
Glad you followed that by moms.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I said Zoe,
one of Zoe's friends is in that
I was
show.
very
That's like exactly. That's why I was there. I wore my fedora so they would recognize me.
This was not at the park. Okay.
Oh my God. Why? Don't feed into this. Like
you just doubled down on it.
Oh no.
So I'm like, okay, this could be fine. It's a nice like cultured art experience going to a burlesque show. That's great. So she's like, well, it's downtown Orlando. Okay. Yeah. Now, Mary, I haven't been to downtown Orlando since I was in like my mid-20s.
Oh.
No, I've been there. And, I bar, independent bar, barbecue bar, those fun places. Have a Nice Day Cafe, those fun.
Oh,
fun,
yeah.
fun places.
All those places.
Anyway, so it's
right now.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been downtown. So she's like, it's at the Speakeasy. And have you ever been to a Speakeasy?
I always speak easy.
Well, so we get there and the bouncer gives us this. First of all, we got carded, which obviously he has to card everybody because there's no reason that I should be carded. And we had to.
I don't know though. I'm going to stop you right there because if I were if I was a teenager, I would put my friend on my shoulders and look like you, probably like in a trench coat. You are exactly what we would aim for to get through the door.
Anyway, so and Rachel says you can't wear tennis shoes. You can't wear tennis shoes. You can wear jeans, but they can't be ripped. I own two different types of pairs of jeans, ripped or like I don't fit in them anymore. And
soon to be ripped.
Right. So soon to be ripped. So
ripped.
Let me tell you, my nutsack was so constricted from these jeans. But thankfully, they were cleanly shaven nutsack because I use my Manscaped 4.0. And if you'd like 20% off your Manscaped purchase, just visit their website, manscaped.com. Use the promo code NNF for 20% off. So,
and Scott, not only can you get the Manscaped 4.0, you can get the limited edition Manscaped 4.0. It's purple, and some of the proceeds go towards testicular cancer, which you probably have now because of the genes.
Very tight.
It wouldn't surprise
like a tiger.
Me. Just call me John Kruk. That joke did not land
Lance
at all.
Armstrong? Did you mean Lance Armstrong?
I don't even know who that is.
John Kruk was a baseball player.
We can make fun. Yeah, we can't make fun of John Kruk. We can make fun of Lance Armstrong. He cheated, so we can make fun of the whole one ball thing. But John Kruk, come on.
Okay,
man.
My bad. So
I'm wearing a Phillies hat. Very insensitive.
So we get there, and yes, Jared, it was Mather's Social downtown. That's where we went, to Mather's Social.
Oh, that's a nice place.
It's a really nice place. And you go up this elevator, and there's a library, and you have to find the book that you can handle, which means that there's a door handle. And you open it up. And
was yours Little Women?
Ooh, that was too good.
Yes. So I grabbed the Little Women book, opened the door, and the place was really nice. Really nice. You know, we had a nice charcuterie board in front of us. And, you know, I kept, Rachel's like, do you want to see the menu? And I'm like, no, I'm Bud Light. I cannot drink liquor tonight. I have to be up at 3:30 in the morning. Show doesn't start till 8 o'clock. So we get there at 7 o'clock. They don't have Bud Light, Mary.
Of course they don't. Why did you think they were? Like, what?
I know this place is
Speakeasy. Do you know of? They have bathtub gin.
They had bathtub gin. They had
you
drinks.
Say it like I don't make it. What?
They had drinks that you could smoke. Like they had the torch and the smoke drinks.
Yeah.
You know, like very fancy. I ordered Mick Ultra. And I absolutely hate Mick Ultra, but after the first one,
were you wearing Dry Fit?
No, I wasn't. But let me tell you, this whole BS rule that she told me, like, you can't wear shorts, you can't wear tennis shoes. There were people wearing shorts and tennis shoes, and I immediately was frustrated because, again, nutsack.
Did you just whip your nuts out just like out of protest?
I can't do that, Mary.
Oh, so, that's where you draw the line. Okay,
that's where I draw the line.
Love it.
So we're having a good old time. So I am imagining in my head this burlesque show with a stage and this huge ensemble number where I can watch from afar the girls dancing in the corsets, and that is my evening. And I'm very much looking forward to this because I like boobs. There is no stage, Mary. There's no stage, and I'm trying to figure out how this works. And they're like, well, I think they just dance kind of. There's this pathway. There's this natural path between tables and all that. And they're like, I think they do it there. I'm like, okay, that's a weird group number, but fine. Mary, it's not a group number. Okay. It is one girl at a time.
Oh,
wow.
Okay. It's like an auction.
Is there a satellite stage?
No, there's no
we
satellite
once
stage.
The redhead. I don't know what's happening.
Here's the thing about me. I don't like going to like regular plays where they come out in the audience and they interact with the audience. It makes me feel sick to my stomach because I don't know what to do. I don't know where to look. I don't know what to do with my hands. So I'm like, fine.
I feel like you are lying to all of us right now because I feel like the second you get 1 ounce of attention, you're like you stand up and you just start a song. And
the attention has to be on my own terms. I cannot interact with a performer. Chris, you were going to say something.
Man.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have 2 ideas of what you could have done with your hands.
One of which both will probably land you right in jail.
I tried, but again, pants tight, couldn't get it down there. So I see her.
That's not what I was insinuating.
Wow.
Keep going.
He was going to say eat your charcuterie board and hold your drink.
Man, wow.
I don't know.
Okay, I had finished the charcuterie board and I was on my third Mick Ultra because I'm like, oh my God, she started interacting with people, Mary. She started interacting with people and I immediately start squirming.
But what was she doing to interact? Was she
what
talking
is
or
glove off?
dancing?
No, she's dancing. There's music. She glove
was
off
she singing
and around
or
the
just
neck.
Dancing?
Just dancing. glove off around his neck and, kind of like hand down his face. And
it sounds horrible.
Chris,
I don't like people to touch my face.
Chris,
I wouldn't like it.
I'm losing my mind at this point because I'm like, oh my God, like she's got a straight shot to us. Oh my, and like Rachel is sitting on the couch next to her friend who's sitting next to her husband, and I'm in a chair across from them. So I'm like by myself.
Why'd you isolate yourself from the pack? That was your first mistake.
I thought it was a group number, Mary. I didn't realize that it was individual
you didn't
performances.
Scope out the venue?
No,
See,
I didn't know. This was my
gonna
first
tell you,
burlesque show.
Take a page out of Chris and I's book. I would have known what the venue looked like, the square footage, the parking arrangement, what they had on the menu well in advance.
But
because
I'm
my
not
a Yelp it,
anxiety
man.
does not allow for me to go in blind.
I'm not-
that is on you.
I am not
You
that
could have
much of a
asked
psychopath, though.
Okay, well, maybe you should get on our level then, because Chris and I wouldn't have been thrown off. We would have known exactly where to sit. So that's on you.
And where to put our hands, whatever.
Clearly.
Our mouths.
Our hands, our mouths, and our pants wouldn't have been tight. So
Yeah.
Lesson well learned. I have learned my lesson. So this continues. She's coming down the aisle, and thank God, all she did near our table was take off her gloves and throw it at Rachel. Fine, great. Continue on with your performance.
did she come back and get the glove, or does Rachel still have it?
No, someone else came to get the gloves.
Okay.
So
I bet you remembered how tight your pants were.
So I pictured the robe's going to come off and there's going to be a corset. Gloves are going to come off. The stockings are going to come up. But what I didn't expect is a thong. I thought this was a classy burlesque show. No,
What's wrong with thongs, Scott?
Okay. I am at a club seeing this burlesque show, which I don't know what to expect with my wife. I don't know what to do with my hands. I'm already squirming and highly uncomfortable because they're going to interact with me at some point. This is horrifying. So the dance continues. The robe comes off. Fine. I knew there's going to be a corset. No problem. She takes the stockings off. Fine. No problem. Okay. Things get intense at this point. Okay. The corset comes off. And
what's under the corset?
it's like a brassiere.
Brassiere?
A bra.
Okay. What?
Well, this is a fancy place. You have to call it the full name.
No. Did you see her breast, Scott? Is that what? Were you excited
Sound like
about?
a doctor.
I know. What, a brassiere?
Mary feels like she's in school right now.
I don't even know what did Rachel bring a pocketbook with her? What the hell are you talking about right now?
Did you get nervous and check your pocket watch?
Yeah, like
Listen,
good
pocket watches would have
God.
fit in this place because it was a very classy establishment.
Sounds like would have fit in a lot of places.
And
Doesn't sound very classy.
it doesn't sound like it would fit in your pants. I don't know.
No, nothing fit my pants. My cigarettes had to go in Rachel's pocketbook because I could not put them in my pants. Okay, so in the fancy brassiere with the thong, but then the brassiere comes off and she's got the booby tassels. She's got the booby tassels.
How are you going to go from brassiere to booby tassel?
Well, there was no tassel, but they were glittery and they were covering the
That's a
areola and
pasty.
nipples. No, they weren't pasties. Pasties are see-through.
An areola is a nipple.
No, I
You
don't think they
No,
are.
they're not.
What?
Not all of them.
No, I have
no,
some.
pasties are not.
Listen, have you ever been to a Daytona Beach bike week?
Literally, and I'm sure
There's a lot of
they're very
pasties.
close to the same class as what Scott experienced. It's almost the same thing.
That's unfortunate.
There's okay, first of all, an areola is a nipple, okay, sir?
Right, I know.
But you said her areola and her nipple. So
That's
how
the
many?
same thing.
How many? Is she a cow? She got
also said
udders?
brassiere.
What is this? Okay. So you were taken aback by the pasty.
I thought I was at a burlesque show, which would be dancing in the corsets. I did not realize I was at a strip show.
Why did you think it was dancing in the corsets? Is it because
Because-
of the name?
Yes, this is a downtown Orlando thing. There's no stripping license there. I didn't know I was going to a strip show.
I don't want to scare you.
Wait, you need a license to strip?
Yeah. Also, the Backstreet Boys
Mary,
don't
you've been doing
live
it illegally for years.
in the Backstreet. They're also not boys. Wait, hold on. What? I've been doing what for years?
Stripping illegally.
Oh, yeah, I have.
When you climbed that tree a couple weeks ago,
Look.
that was very illegal.
Well, it was just
You
the
need to be licensed to
murder
do
that was the part that was illegal. That was the only part. I need to understand. I think that, one, I can imagine that you probably looked like Clark Griswold whenever he was at the mall and sweating profusely by the lingerie stand. That's what I almost feel like. I think you were probably like,
worse.
'tis the season to be merry.
Worse. I'm squirming in my seat, and now I have nothing to drink.
I almost think that Rachel wanted to see the show, kind of, but you were also the show.
Oh, no, without a doubt.
This was strategery.
I became
at
the
its finest.
biggest entertainment of the night. Like
I wouldn't go that far, but
well, as far as my group was concerned,
bonus.
I was definitely an added bonus. So now I'm parched because I can't. I'm sweating.
Parched.
Like I have no saliva left in my mouth. My mouth is dry. I've got the little white foamy thing, on the corners of my mouth because of the dehydration. So I.
That's what you call it?
Yes. So I immediately ordered another McUltra, and I'm like, and a shot of tequila, please. I'm going to need this to get through the night. Yep. Mind you, I have to be up at 3:30 in the morning. So I'm...
Mr. Sir.
So then, to make things worse, after the routine, she comes around with a tip bucket. And I don't carry any cash. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have any cash. She turns the bucket around and she says, well, here's our Venmo.
Brilliant.
I'm like, what?
Brilliant.
The hell? Our strippers have Venmo now. Fantastic.
The Girl Scouts do that too.
Yeah.
Strip?
No.
Oh my God. Scott's like, give me the tickets. I'll buy all of them. Where do I from? Cookies and Cookies. It's the newest show.
So to wrap this up before we go to Jersey Man, Florida Man. So
I thought you were going to say jail, but that too.
So we stay. We're second routine's about to happen, and they're like 20 minutes apart. And now the place is really busy to where when the routine starts, everybody kind of stands up and converges in. Well, again, we're at the end of this runway. So they're like standing in front of us, which I'm okay with at this point because I'm very uncomfortable, very, very uncomfortable. So like Rachel's friend is like, move out of the way, move out of the way. So they don't move enough where I can see, which I'm fine with. I'm just sitting back. I'm fine. I'm just eating my cheese from the charcuterie board.
I thought you finished your cheese. I'm just kidding.
We got a second charcuterie board.
Holes in the story.
We got a second board, Mary.
Of course you did.
So then I missed the whole thing, which is fine. But then she comes around and does the tip bucket. And I immediately felt like the biggest asshole ever. Mary, she was this beautiful, larger African-American woman. And I just stood there and didn't watch the show like everybody else, which made me the biggest racist in the building.
Well, that's not what made you that, but yes, that too. I'm sure that contributed.
I felt terrible, so I tipped her.
Well, good.
Did you put the fist up too?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I could definitely see you
No, I did
that.
Wakanda Forever.
Oh
my
God.
God.
Let's go into Florida Man and Jersey Man. Jesus.
You guys ready to play Jersey Man, Florida Man?
Yeah.
Please.
Yes.
Whether flipping a fan boat or crashing a truck, these states are filled with people who suck. So it's time for us to play New Jersey Man versus Florida Man.
All right, every week, Ryan brings us two news stories. One is from Jersey, one is from Florida. It is up to us to decide which one is which. Take it away, Ryan.
Hey guys, this is Ryan. I'm still here in the No New Friends newsroom, which is located this week in a prison in Uzbekistan.
Hey, the hell are you doing here?
What?
Who the let you in here? Get out of here.
Fine, geez, I'll head over to Ruby's Round Table. They appreciate the finer things there.
Geez, you leave for 5 minutes and the squatters take over. Anyways, hey guys, this is Ryan coming to you from the No New Friends newsroom, located this week at my new job at a grocery store. The job at the warehouse didn't work out. Apparently my back alley dealings were frowned upon and highly illegal. So I got a new job here being security at a grocery store. Oh man, this is a rough start to the day. I grabbed the wrong name tag. This one says, hello, my name is Gay on it. My name's not gay, neither is anybody else's. Anyways, I love watching the security cameras here because I love to people watch. And you really see some characters come into the grocery store. This one woman came in with a whole string of kids behind her. I thought she was chaperoning a field trip, but it turns out all the kids were hers. Well, she proceeded to have a conversation with a cardboard cutout, which she's been doing for weeks now from what I hear. And then this Jewish woman came in trying to understand seasonings so she could make an Italian dish for a Puerto Rican man. I'm not really sure what religion or race should be offended by that, but I'm pretty sure it's all of them. And then this one guy wearing a fedora and a Hawaiian shirt came in. He wandered over to the vegetables where he got very angry at them for some reason. He had that look on his face as if he'd never eaten or seen a vegetable before. And after that, he approached a blue-haired woman where he gabbed her ear off about what happened on a soap opera 30 years ago. I don't even know how long he talked for. I fell asleep for an hour and he was still talking. But he wandered away from there and got into some kind of weird move-out-of-my-way dancing match with a woman, and then yelled at her, "You would be the type of person that'd split a check in a restaurant." But he wandered over to the meat section where he found a My First Salmon cooking kit we make for kids. It might take him a while to cook that in his Easy Bake Oven. See, Mary, that's an Easy Bake Oven joke that won't offend a whole religion. While I'll watch this guy use his wife's credit card to buy her dinner, let's get into this week's Florida Man or Jersey Man. And in our first story, a man is arrested for trafficking fentanyl that he kept in a Pringles can. And in our second story, a man said his wife was just napping, but prosecutors claim it was much more permanent.
Oh. All right. Let's start with Sarah. What do you think? You've got fentanyl in a Pringles can, and you've got permanently sleeping like Mary.
No, fentanyl has to be Florida.
Okay.
It has to be.
All right.
It's just trashy like that. In a Pringles can, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
Mary, what do you think?
Yeah, I gotta agree with Sarah on this one. We do like our fentanyl here in Florida, and by we, I mean really we. Like I am in on that. Only done it once, but boy, what a ride. I can't have Pringles though, so I'd like to think I'd keep my fentanyl in something better, like a bag of gluten-free pretzels. I digress. The one that was sleeping was probably in Jersey. I don't know. I agree with Sarah.
Chris, what do you think?
Fentanyl, very popular up here in New Jersey, so much so that we have fentanyl commercials. It says not even once. So I'm going to go fentanyl, New Jersey. And the sleeping thing, people are old in Florida. They probably thought she was just sleeping because she's probably 85 years old, and then just now, super dead. So I'm going to go Florida.
That is
I'm
a
going to
very
go
good
sleeping
point.
Florida. Mm-hmm.
So I was going to go sleeping New Jersey because there's really nothing to do in New Jersey. But I'm gonna go with the Jerseyan Expert, and they've got commercials about fentanyl in New Jersey. So I'm gonna go.
We don't have commercials.
We don't, but in Florida we don't care about the drug epidemic.
That's fair.
No, the only commercials we have are for gun shows here.
That is true. That is true. That is true. So I'm gonna go fentanyl Jersey and sleeping woman Florida. All right, let's find out the answer.
So our first story is from Florida, where Hillsborough County Sheriff arrests a 25-year-old man with 40 grams of fentanyl in a Pringles can. Fentanyl and gluten? This guy's really out to kill Mary.
Oh my gosh.
And our second story is from New Jersey, where a 40-year-old South Jersey man had murdered his wife, but claimed to police that she was just napping. He had a foolproof story. He said she was listening to the No New Friends podcast, and Chris started talking about conspiracies. And just like anybody else, it put her to sleep. Even as he was telling the people his story, they yawned. And in other news, a new study finds that plants scream when stressed or injured. They use tiny microphones to record the sounds of a plant being stressed. Here's what they recorded. Not really sure how we can confirm this, but Sarah, have you ever heard the plants screaming when you smoke them?
Oh.
Anyways, that's it from me this week, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Wow.
That may have been one of his best jokes.
That was
fantastic.
that was good.
That was really good. So
that was beautiful.
Yeah, that was beautiful. All right, coming up next is our interview with Jeremy Miller, who played Ben Seaver on the 80s hit sitcom Growing Pains. This is part 1 of the interview. Part 2 will be on After Dark this coming Wednesday. Guys, this is a fantastic interview. He did not hold back at all. He discussed a lot of the childhood trauma that he went through. It is unbelievably fascinating, and all the good work that he's doing now. By far my favorite interview so far. It was unbelievable. So please, if you like this episode means a lot to me. Please share it with the masses, because I'm just very, very proud of this interview, and it's going to be in 2 parts. You're about to hear part 1. Part 2 will be in After Dark. If you want to see the full unedited interview and actually watch it, just join our Patreon for as low as $2 a month. It's already up there, and it doesn't cost you much to watch it.
The word history comes from ancient Greece, first used by Aristotle. Historians seek knowledge of the past using historical sources. I use Google. This is The Hiz with Alex. Before they play part 1 of the interview with Jeremy Miller, I thought it'd be a good idea, as usual, to educate you on who the guest is. Jeremy Miller was born on October 21st, 1976 in Covina, California. Miller was a paid actor by the time he was 8 years old, landing a guest role on the show Punky Brewster. He appeared in the TV series named Deceptions and in the film Emanin. He even voiced Linus in the TV short Happy New Year, Charlie Brown. He would go on and voice Linus in the Peanut TV movie and miniseries in 1988. He then landed his biggest role as Ben Seaver, the youngest son on Growing Pains, which ran from 1985 to 1992 on ABC. After Growing Pains, Jeremy appeared in a special celebrity team-up episode of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. He was in a few projects until 2000 when he was in the TV movie reunion, The Growing Pains the Movie. This was followed up by Growing Pains' Return of the Seavers in 2004. Jeremy continued acting, racking up 6 credits. In 2014, Miller was promoting Start Fresh Recovery and told a story of addiction. He had been struggling with drinking since he was 12, and in 2011 became a spokesperson for Fresh Start Private Management, which helped him get clean. Jeremy talked about how his faith and family really helped him recover from addiction in the book he wrote, which was released in 2019, named When I Wish Upon a Star, From Broken Homes to Mended Hearts. He can currently be seen on the BET original series, Angel.
You're listening to the No New Friends podcast. We'll be right back.
There are 3 things that I hate in life: taxes, nausea, and booking vacations. The first 2 I'm stuck with, but for the third, I use Sandpiper Vacations. Sandpiper Vacations is a small business that is LGBTQ+ owned and operated with travel advisors all over the country. Whether it's a cruise, a trip to a theme park, or an all-inclusive resort, Sandpiper has you covered. Oh, and I forgot to mention, it's free. Why book a vacation when you can have someone else do it for you? That's like choosing to take the stairs in a building that has an elevator. Leave the headaches of booking a vacation to someone else. Get your quote today at www.sandpipervacations.com and tell them that the No New Friends podcast sent you.
Picture it, St. Augustine, Florida, 2022. You're on the Night Watchman Ghost Tour with all of your ghoul friends. The air grows colder, you turn the corner, and there she is, Ghost Mary. Okay, you probably won't run into Ghost Mary. You may see a ghost named Mary. I'm not really 100% sure, but the tour guides for the Night Watchman Ghost Tour from See America Tours do know it is the only 4D ghost tour in St. Augustine. So if you have ever wondered what a ghost smells like, well, now is your chance. And right now they have a scary good deal going on. Enter the promo code NNF, as in No New Friends, and receive 25% off your Night Watchman Ghost Tour. So visit them at seeamericatours.net. That is SEE americatours.net. Okay, bye.
Psst. Hey, you want to join a cult? Well, this might be your lucky day. For just $2 a month and a simple blood oath, you can join our clubhouse and become a friend with benefits. In addition to the amazing feeling of donating to the poor, you will have access to Patreon-exclusive content, live shows, and maybe even a behind-the-scenes look at my secret stash. To get started, head on over to nonewfriendspodcast.com and hit Join Our Clubhouse. Can't wait to see you at the initiation ceremony. Oh, and in the chat during our live shows, of course.
If you'd like to hear all of our episodes, all of our past episodes, just visit our website, nonewfriendspodcast.com. All of our links to all of our old episodes are there. If you didn't understand an inside joke or just wanted to re-listen to something, just check it out. It's nonewfriendspodcast.com, or you can check us out on all streaming platforms.
This is Larry Hankin, and you're listening to the No New Friends podcast. Me neither.
Show me that smile again. Show me that smile. Don't waste another minute on your crying. We're nowhere near the end. The best is ready to begin. each other.
Welcome back to the No New Friends podcast. I am so excited about our next guest. We've had a lot of really cool guests, but this one's got to be one of the coolest. As a child of the 80s, I grew up watching Family Ties and especially Growing Pains, and our next guest starred in Growing Pains from the age of 8 to 15, played little Ben Seaver, who is famous for that Ben Seaver scream. It was kind of the original Michelle Tanner, you got it, dude. I mean, he was cooler than Michelle Tanner. But I've got Jeremy Miller with us. Jeremy, how are you?
I'm doing great, Scott. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. You do so many amazing things, which we'll talk about later. But when did acting? You started at 5 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember? I don't remember what I did 5 minutes ago. Do you remember kind of what that experience was like at 5 years old, getting into acting?
I vaguely do, actually. When I was really little, about 2.5, 3 years old, my mom put me in singing lessons, maybe 3.5. And there was a little place down where we lived called Mickey Rooney's Talent Town. And for any of our younger listeners, Mickey Rooney was the original kid actor. He was the original, young star. And he built these studios for kids to come and learn anything they wanted in the entertainment business. So they could come and learn acting and singing and dance and any sort of performance that they wanted. And Mickey would even come to visit the studios occasionally, which for a kid was, I knew exactly who he was, and it was such a big deal when he would come. But I was taking singing lessons there, and the singing coach had 2 daughters who were in acting. And she just kind of came to my mom one time and said, hey, have you ever thought about putting him on TV? He has the personality for it. He certainly never shuts up. And
it's like Chris never shuts up.
I get that too.
Guilty.
That was me. And, I always walked around the house repeating lines from Chips or Brady Bunch, or, I'd recite entire scenes. And my mom, something just clicked, and she was like, I don't know, maybe he would like that. So given I was only about 5 years old, 5.5, and one day in the car, after picking me up from school, she asked me, what would you think about trying to be like one of those kids on TV? And I'm 5 years old. So it was like, okay, that sounds fun. I had no clue. And it was really just as simple as that. My singing coach helped us, try and go through the process, get pictures, get an agent, and do all that kind of stuff. And that's just where my journey began.
That's so cool. Now, did it kind of click right away? Did you land jobs right away, or were there any struggles starting off?
The funny thing is, I booked a National McDonald's commercial within my first 10 auditions.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I'll tell you a little something about that commercial. It was me, Jaleel White, so Urkel from Family Matters.
Oh, my God.
A kid named RJ Williams and a kid named Brandon Call. If you go look up either of those names, they not only starred in multiple pilots during that time, they also were guest stars on almost every major, sitcom and kids show. So it was just this weird moment where all 4 of us who would go on to be very successful in this business were all doing our first commercial at like 5 years old.
Oh, that's crazy. Brandon Call was in Step by Step, right?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
And then RJ Williams did, I think he had like 3 different pilots that he did that didn't end up going anywhere after their first few. And he did a bunch of, like I said, a bunch of guest spots on different things. And of course, we know Jaleel Urkel on, Family Matters. And it was just this really kind of unique. I ran into one of the producers who did that commercial, and he was like, I can't believe we booked all of you guys for this, and then you all went on for the next 10, 15 years to be successful young actors.
Yeah. I hope that casting director used that as kind of a feather in his cap on his resume. Like, I discovered Jeremy Miller and Khalil White, Brandon. That's so cool.
It wasn't quite The Outsiders, with Matt, Matt Dillon and all those guys, but it was definitely an interesting, experience to see all of us later on and be like, wow, we all did this little thing together, as barely babies. And then we all went on to do pretty well for ourselves. But that was my first taste of it. And, as a kid, you think, oh, well, this is easy. This is going to be, no problem. 10 auditions, I already got a job. And then for about the next 2 years, I didn't get anything.
Oh, wow.
I went on over 450 auditions. I got regularly down to the final 4, the final 2, what they called getting called back for producers, where it would be only a few guys and you read directly with the director and the producers. It seemed like I got that far on almost every audition, but I just couldn't book anything. And my mom was a single mom. I mean, my dad was not a deadbeat dad. He paid his alimony and his child support, and we saw him every other weekend, and he was a big part of my life. But we were struggling. My mom couldn't work full time while taking us on auditions, because your afternoons, I mean, she would pick us up from school. My brother auditioned as well. So we'd go to anywhere from 3 to 5 auditions a day between the two of us. Wow. And she would drive us around. I mean, we lived out in, different places that were far from Hollywood. I grew up in West Covina and Alhambra and Azusa, and, these places are not close. So we would drive an hour and a half, 2 hours to get there, spend the whole day driving to different places to audition, and then sit in traffic the whole way home. And you wouldn't get home till 8, 9 o'clock at night. Wow. And then you just began again the next day. Wow. So it was a little tough.
Sure.
But my mom finally sat me down, and again, I didn't know all these little details, but I mean, we were getting food help from our church at that point. We were struggling so bad. They were helping us out with a few bills and things. I mean, things had gotten pretty desperate. And my mom sat me down after an audition and said, honey, I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to keep this up. She said, I just financially, I don't know if we can keep doing this. She said, if you don't start booking things soon, we're going to have to stop. We probably have about 2 months, maybe 3 months left.
Wow.
And I don't know if you're, a person who believes in the power of prayer, but I'll tell you right now, my mom and I both started praying that day. And within 2 weeks, I started booking every last thing I got.
Wow.
That's how it happened. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but within 2 weeks, I got a part on Different Strokes. I got a part on Charles in Charge, Punky Brewster. This little show nobody remembers called Pryor's Place. It was a Saturday morning variety show for kids that Richard Pryor produced.
Wow.
Robin Williams did guest spots, and all these different people did guest spots. And I got to be a part of that show for an episode. I just started landing everything. I ended up booking a movie, every actor has it, a horrible movie called Emanon. Don't bother trying to find it. It was awful. You will not get that time in your life back. Don't bother. But I got some good reviews from it. Me and one other actor, the LA Times tore the film apart. I mean, just the review was awful, but they said that there were 2 bright spots, and it was me and this other actor. And it was kind of the start. I then booked a TV movie with Barry Bostwick and Stephanie Powers called Deceptions.
Wow.
And we went and filmed at the legendary Pinewood Studios in London. And it all snowballed, and it all started spiraling. And soon enough, I ended up getting my audition for Growing Pains as well. And here's the really interesting thing. I booked 2 new pilots right at the same time. I went out for a show called Fathers and Sons, which was going to star Merlin Olsen. And then I went out for Growing Pains. And basically, I got both roles. Okay. It hadn't been confirmed, but I was asked to come and do the screen test. And at that point, they've basically decided they want you. Sure. But you can't commit to 2 screen tests.
Oh, wow.
You have to choose.
Pressure. And how old were you at this time?
At this time, I'm about 7.5. I'm almost 8.
Oh my God.
Right.
And my agent and everybody else is telling us we need to take Fathers and Sons. Fathers and Sons was going to be an NBC show. NBC was bigger than ABC and CBS at the time. Merlin Olsen was a bigger name than anybody they had involved with Growing Pains at the time. And everybody around me was saying we needed to take Fathers and Sons. That's the one we needed to agree to. But my mother and my grandmother had a feeling. That's really all. They had an inclination, and they said, no, we need to go with this other one. And that's history. Growing Pains went on for 7 years. I believe Fathers and Sons went on for 6 episodes and was canceled.
Wow.
My very good friend Andre Gower, who was in Monster Squad and a bunch of other films, he actually booked the role after I chose Growing Pains. And had I chosen the other one, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I owe that to my mom and my grandmother. But that's kind of how it all began and how it snowballed for me.
Well, some could argue that maybe you made Growing Pains, and had you taken the other one, maybe that goes on for 7 seasons and Growing Pains for only 6 episodes.
That's a very sweet sentiment. But being a kid actor at the time, yes, you have a lot to add, but there's not a lot of talent at that age for most actors. Most child actors, your job is to be cute and to be as real of a kid as possible. And the producers on Growing Pains said that was what got me the job. It wasn't my performance or my reading of the lines. It was that I came into the casting room and just started telling jokes and telling stories and being a kid. And they immediately were like, that's the kid. That's who we need. You learn the skills of acting as you go on, as you grow up, as you take classes and you work with people. But at that age, you really are just trying to be yourself. You're trying to be a kid and bring that to the role.
Sure. So how did you, so shows back in the 80s, family sitcoms back in the 80s, a lot different than they are now.
Oh, yeah.
Way different. There was the family, and there was, always a learning opportunity. Growing Pains dealt with, driving under the influence of alcohol. I mean, the famous death of Matthew Perry episode. Yes. And so what was that like for you as a kid, having to deal with all these heavy issues, but also try to be funny? Like, how did the balance of that work?
Especially early on, because of my age, I wasn't included in the scenes where we dealt with those type of issues. So my job hadn't really changed. I knew we were dealing with this stuff, and I knew the impact that this, even at a young age, we were doing episodes about cocaine, and we were doing episodes, about, like you said, drunk driving and bullying and all this other stuff. And I wasn't too much a part of that because I was younger during those seasons. So my job was still just to come in, do our scenes, be the normal kid. But those were important episodes, Right. They really were. People still to this day very much, and not just because Matt Perry went on to do Friends. That was a powerful episode that people really remember and still touches them.
Oh, for sure.
So getting to be a part of that and getting to already kind of reach out and touch people's lives a little bit was really cool as a kid.
Yeah. Now, when they were getting ready to do those episodes, or obviously, did you watch the show when it aired? Okay. So, did you have discussions with your parents? Did they sit you down, or anybody kind of say, okay, this is what this episode is about. This is what they're dealing with? Because as a 8, 9, 10-year-old kid, how much of that stuff do you know about without seeing the episode?
We did. My parents did. My mom in particular did talk to me about a lot of that stuff when it would come up. But our producers also did. They wanted us to have a little bit of a background. And sometimes they went a little too far. Thankfully, my mom put her foot down here and there. But I'll give you an example. And most people look at it as just a very funny episode. But there was an episode in the 2nd season where my character calls a phone sex line and runs up a huge bill on the phone. And our producers wanted me to understand what this was about. I'm only 9 years old, and they wanted to play an actual recording of a phone sex line for me at 9 years old, so I would know what we're dealing with.
Wow.
Oh my God.
My mother put her foot down so quick it wasn't even funny.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was not going to happen. But that's the type of thing they did. They wanted realism. They wanted us to understand before we began filming so that we could, do our best.
Wow. So essentially, it's a family sitcom. You had a second family. How much influence did those legends, Alan Thicke, Joanna Kearns, Kirk Cameron, Tracy Gold, have on you as a kid?
They were, you said it already, that was my second family. I was very blessed in that we had a great set. We had wonderful people on it, and everybody from the cast all the way to our crew, even the office workers, the assistants of the producers and things like that. We knew everybody's name. We knew their kids. We were a 200-person family. It was an amazing experience. And honestly, Kirk was a big influence on me as an older brother. I mean, we were siblings. We tortured Tracy. He tortured me. We had fun together. You know, Alan and Joanna were truly influential parents to me when something was going on. If I was misbehaving on set, they'd check me. If my attitude wasn't right, they'd check me. I learned a lot from them about the industry, about life, but they were huge influences on me, and their love and their caring for me and their being a part of everything. I mean, I'll give you an example. When I was going through probably the darkest period of my childhood, when I was dealing with the sexual abuse with my stepfather and all that kind of stuff, Tracy was the one who was there for me every single day.
Oh, wow.
We went to lunch. You know, they didn't know exactly what was going on, but they knew I was really messed up. And Kirk would have me come and spend the weekend at his house with his family, you know, with his brothers and sisters and his mom. Tracy would do the same thing. When they could tell I just had to get away. They would, you know, hey, why don't you come spend the weekend with us? And we're going to do this and we're going to do that. They'd get me out of the house. They gave me a safe place to be. So they were incredibly influential and important in my life. And you know, Alan was one of the greatest human beings I've ever known. Still hard to talk about.
Sure.
Sorry, haven't gotten choked up about it in a while. But he was my other dad. You know, I was very lucky to have such an amazing, loving, caring man, such a giving, open human being who just welcomed everybody into his life and his heart. And not only in a personal level, but, you know, on a professional level, he taught me so much. And he was there for us. I mean, till the day he died, he was there for us. He would call and check in and make sure we're doing okay. He would, if we all hadn't seen each other in a while and it, you know, things were getting a little too long. It's been 2 or 3 years now. Right. He'd be like, screw it. He'd send an email to all of us or call all of us and be like, look, give me a date in this month. You're all coming up to my ranch in Santa Barbara. We're going to cook. We're going to bring the families and we're going to have a day. You know, he was the linchpin of our family, and he was, just like I said, one of the most caring, giving, loving individuals I've ever met, not to mention one of the most talented. I mean, he was a true Renaissance man. I mean, not only an award-winning actor, a singer, a musician, a comedian, a writer, a producer. He was the jack of all trades in the entertainment industry. And unlike most who are, you know, what's the old saying, you know, master of none, you know, right, you're great at
jack
everything.
Jack of all trades, master
jack
of
all
none.
Trades, master of none. Alan wasn't like that. He had learned to master it before he went on to something else. And then he was determined to master that too. And it was just something to aspire to bring that kind of professionalism and desire and compassion to everything you tried to do.
Right. Wow. Now, did you have a relationship with his son, Robin Thicke, at all?
Oh, yeah. Robin and I were great. I like to say we were great frenemies. Because we were rivals. You know, he was about a year younger than me, but we were rivals for every girl we found attractive, that we wanted to be boyfriend, girlfriend with. We were competitive with each other, but we got along great. I mean, I went over to Alan's house all the time to hang out with Robin because we were almost the same age, and we were very good friends back then. And I'll tell you right now, we knew he was going to blow up. I mean, he had this kind of musical talent at freaking 10 years old. I mean, he was already in his room with his little keyboard that his dad had bought him and, you know, writing music and doing this and that. So Robin was always insanely talented. And yeah, he was a good friend.
That's cool. Now, so in the 80s, they made a big deal. What was it? Teen Beat magazine or Tiger Beat or whatever made a huge deal out of all of these 80s stars. Did you have friends from other shows that you hung out with, or were you just so busy working?
There wasn't a lot of hanging out, but yes, we did. Our socialization was more work things, PR events and things like that. So us kids would get to travel a lot. Me and the kids from Mr. Belvedere and Who's the Boss and a lot of the other shows, we would go on these PR trips together, or we'd go to, this interview, or we were doing a TV guide shoot. So we always had work that was we were around each other, and we formed a lot of good friendships, but you didn't have a lot of time to hang out at each other's houses or go do other stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I everybody knows I dated Kirk's little sister, Candace, and I dated Danica McKellar from Wonder Years.
Okay. I didn't know about Candace Cameron. I knew about Danica McKellar.
Yeah, Candace and I were always around each other. She was always at the set, and this was before Full House had started.
Okay,
so she was always around with the family, and she was incredibly cute, and we were the same age basically. So we were boyfriend girlfriend there for a little while, and we all kind of hung out in the same circles.
That's cool.
At work. So you did have that little friend group. I mean, Bryce Beckham from, Mr. Belvedere, and Danny Pintaro and Alyssa Milano from Who's the Boss, and, Malcolm Jamal Warner from Cosby, and all these guys, they were friends.
Yeah. That's cool. Now, later on in life, is there like I don't want to use the word support group, but the child actors of the 80s, do you guys get together and kind of reminisce what the 80s were like or anything like that?
There is actually a group of us that are, it's a Facebook group, but we're also tied into a charity that does a lot of work for, children's rights in the industry and stuff like that. There was a organization that Paul Peterson from Like Father, Like Son, I believe it was. There might have even been before that. He was one of the original child stars on that, and he created this group to try and lobby Congress. I mean, they were the ones who got the Coogan Law passed, which is where, they have to protect a certain portion of our money and put it in a trust for us.
Gotcha.
They were the ones who helped get that passed. They're the ones who are still fighting today to get it to be a national law, because it's not. It's only in, I believe, 3 states right now. And because filming is blown up all over the country and all over the world, and we're filming in Canada, and we're filming in Georgia and Florida and Minnesota and all these different places now, kids have no protection in those states. So this organization is still fighting to work with that. And we created the Ex-Child Star Society, basically, as a Facebook group and a way for us all to communicate and get together. And every year or two, we'll throw a little barbecue, and a lot of us come. We have kids from Aaron Murphy from Bewitched, played Tabitha, and
that's so cool.
We're all still a part of each other's lives, and it's not exactly a support group, but there's very few people in this world who can understand what your life was like back then.
Right.
And these are people who get it without you having to say anything.
Right. Yeah, because from our perspective, I was in the child of the 80s. Oh my gosh, these guys are so cool. They're famous and they're my age and this, that, and the other. There's so much more to it, for sure.
Now, and it definitely is. We all experienced normal kid stuff, and maybe to a degree a little bit more. I mean, as an example, I dealt with a lot of bullying. A lot of bullying. And you may not think that because, oh, hey, you were popular. Everybody liked you. And well, yeah, except people resent success a lot of times. And especially kids who, maybe makes them feel inferior, whatever it is. And here's another aspect of it. And it had nothing to do with me. I'm not, Mr. Brad Pitt model, drop dead, gorgeous guy. But because of the popularity of the show, I'd go to a new school and every girl liked me. What do you think that made the guys feel like?
Right.
They weren't real fond of me.
Right.
So I dealt with a lot of bullying. I dealt with a lot of stuff like that. And a lot of us did. And it's there's a lot of ins and outs. I mean, you give up a lot as a child actor.
Sure.
Now, I've always said the trade-offs were well worth it. The things I got to do, the experiences I had, the lives I got to touch were well worth it. But you give up a lot. You don't have a lot of friends outside of the industry. You don't have a normal life. You grow up with a very skewed perspective on how things get done. You grow up without a lot of social skills or life skills. You know, I mean, I didn't know how to function off of a set.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I was used to, just a small example, when I was going to we were checking out schools to go to starting at a new junior high. And we're sitting there taking the tour with the headmaster, and we got done. And here I am, 12 years old. And I turned to the guy and I said, "Well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate it." I called my future headmaster by his first name at 11 years old. And my mother had to tell me in the car, that is not appropriate. I didn't know. I didn't have those life skills. I hadn't learned that kind of stuff. You know, it took me a long time to learn. I mean, I until I was into my mid-20s, I didn't know how to function in real life, and it set me back an awful lot. I don't blame the industry for it or anything else. It's just when your focus is on work and performing and the job, you know, you don't think about the other stuff. You know, you don't think, does this kid know how to just do basic life? You know, the things that are going to get you through life. And you don't learn that really. I mean, my parents tried to keep me as grounded as possible. I had chores, I had responsibilities. If I mouthed off, I got to, pop across, the mouth. I was a normal kid as much as possible, but the surroundings were very abnormal.
Right. And I've heard you talk about your upbringing with your parents in other interviews, and kind of the comparison to some of the other maybe child actors who didn't respect their parents as much as you did. And kudos to your parents for keeping you grounded.
Well, they weren't going to have any of that. I mean, my mother was never, or at least never outwardly, afraid of losing the paycheck. Mm-hmm. That was not the most important thing to her, although it was important because I was basically the provider for the family.
That's great. At 8, 9, 10 years old, that's crazy.
And we can get into that in a sec, because I had a little nervous breakdown at 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
Because of all of that, and some other stuff too, abandonment issues with my father and those kind of things. But my mom was never afraid of losing that. If it meant, not doing her job as a parent, that wasn't going to happen. She kept me in line. Other kids, you could see their parents were afraid of losing that paycheck because they let their kid get away with anything. I never name names, but I saw multiple kid stars who are of my age and my generation telling their parent to F off, to basically, they were the ones calling the shots at 11 and 12 years old. That was not going to play in my house. Yeah, I mean, if I had done that, you'd have probably been digging my body up. So that was just not going to play. And I very much am thankful to my mom and my grandmother and my father for doing that, and for being firm and strict with me and keeping me, as grounded and having as normal of a life as I could.
Well, I hope you're enjoying this interview with Jeremy Miller from Growing Pains. Unfortunately, this is going to be the end of part 1. Now, you can listen to part 2 this Wednesday night on NNF After Dark, where he's going to be talking about working with Leonardo DiCaprio, his nervous breakdown at 10 years old, which is a really, really interesting and crazy story. And then many, many other things. You're not going to want to miss it, because the best is yet to come on this. If you'd like to watch this interview in its entirety, unedited, uninterrupted, check out our Patreon. Become a Clubhouse member for as low as $2 a month. All of these interviews that we're doing are in their entirety, unedited, raw, on our Patreon. So join that today so you can see the entire interview. You're listening to the No New Friends podcast. We'll be right back. Hey there, Scott here. You all know I like to spend time wandering the neighborhood on my big wheels or hanging out at the park with my fedora and my Bud Light. So I don't have time to clean my own house. That's why I've been using I Believe services for the past 6-7 years, and they're the best in commercial and residential cleaning. They're also doing carpet shampooing at such a reasonable price. Just check them out. That's ibelieveservices.us. Give them a call, 407-928-4595, and tell them that the No New Friends podcast sent you.
Hey, everybody. Why don't you give the old Black Lincoln Collective podcast a listen? We're funny, we're fat, and we're here 24/7 at blcpodcast.com. Anytime you want to listen, anywhere, all your favorite podcast apps. Of course, we have a YouTube channel where you can stream live with the show. Check out our shorts. We're funnier the less you hear of us. That's been the Black Lincoln Collective podcast at blcpodcast.com.
Hi, this is Bruce Valanche, and you're listening to the No New Friends podcast. Unless they look like Matt LeBlanc in the early days, he could be my friend.
Welcome back to the No New Friends podcast. I really hope you enjoyed that interview with Jeremy Miller, part 1. And like I said, part 2 will be on the next episode of After Dark. And it gets even darker, but then he does come out of it and we have a lot of fun at the end. Now, also a reminder, check out, and we talk about it at the end of the show, but Ashes to Awesome podcast. That's with Chuck LaFlange and his journey out of addiction and into recovery. He does 6 episodes a week now. It's an amazing podcast, but he gave me the opportunity to interview him on his show. Just absolutely was honored to do that. It's a fantastic interview. His questions or his answers are just very, very raw and honest. And I highly encourage you to check that out, especially if you like the interview that we did on After Dark with him this past week. Just fantastic guy. His podcast is so important, and I need everybody to check that out. Just give it a shot. Sarah, do you have any food reviews for us this week?
I do. So this one is a thread that starts with everyone who works in customer service should legally be allowed to fight one customer a year, which I absolutely agree with 100%. So this is the review to follow. As a last-minute resort, me and my sister went to this Subway to get 63-foot-long subs for my grandson's confirmation party and had to wait over an hour for the subs. Ridiculously long wait, and the lady who took my order seemed really annoyed with me.
Well, yeah, that's the whole call ahead thing. If you've got a big order, a big party, call ahead. And where was this at?
This was at Subway.
63. That is a very oddly specific
That's how many
number
guests
of
they had.
foot-long subs.
How many
And
guests
they all ate 1 foot long?
They went person to person, got their orders, and then brought it.
You think they did? They sent out a
Maybe.
questionnaire.
Maybe.
Like they sent out send us what Subway sub you would like.
If they were so ready to send out a questionnaire, they would have ordered them in advance.
I wonder how intense that's what I'm wondering though, is was it just a bunch of ham and cheese and stuff, or were they I would like sweet onion chicken teriyaki with
from
lettuce,
the sound of that
tomatoes,
review,
extra onion.
It's the picky person.
Oh, all different modifiers. I want
it's
gluten-free bread, gluten or
They
vegan
don't have
cheese.
gluten-free bun there. They don't have it there.
So I do need to tell you, I went to this party one time, and they asked me what I wanted to eat because they had vegan stuff, and I was like, I don't want vegan. And I said, just go to Subway. I want 63 subs.
63. That was you. I'm sure of it.
That was me.
Yep.
How many cookies did you order?
Oh, those cookies are amazing.
They have really
that's one thing that can bring a nation together, is Subway cookies.
Subway cookies, yeah.
Whenever I was at USF on my freshman year or my first year on campus there, on Wednesdays, I had class from super early in the morning until late in the evening. And at night, my English class was above the on-campus Subway, and so our breaks, I would just, this was before I knew I couldn't have the gluteneous, and I would just go and be I'll take 12 cookies, just let me have those, and I would just sit in class and eat all them cookies.
So good, so good. Ryan in chat asks, who the hell has Subway at their confirmation ceremony? I want to know who the hell has a confirmation ceremony that, you would need food at. Like, it's just a...
They should have confirmed the damn order is what they should have confirmed.
So, okay, here's my restaurant tip of the week. Chris.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Chris, do you like going on campouts? Do you like camping?
No, what? Just because I look homeless doesn't mean that I like living in tents.
Sarah, do you like camping? Do you like going to the woods and all that?
It's been a very long time, but I did enjoy it, yeah.
Mary, what about you?
I prefer to glamp, I guess is what it would be called. So when we go camping, we go in the RV. But we have all these kids.
That would be me too. Right.
Yeah, it's nice to have AC.
Yeah, but we all agree that
in a kitchen.
Yeah, we all agree that camping belongs in the woods, right?
Yeah, sure.
Or at like a recreational park.
Yeah.
Like a beach sometimes.
That's fine too. Right.
Where else would you camp?
You know where camping doesn't belong? At your table in the restaurant.
That too.
Okay? Campers, stop doing that okay? If you had to make reservations to get in, or if the restaurant is on a wait, do not camp at your table. The restaurant needs that table for the next guest. Now, if you're going into like a pub type situation or a late night type situation, sit there as long as you want. Nobody cares. But if you see that there's a line at the door, eat and get the F out. Someone needs that table.
Scott, didn't you just tell us that you were sitting at a bar and taking up a couch and a chair and bunch of people piled in and there was no seats left and you were just camping there?
It's an interesting point, Mary.
Just camping there.
Time out, because I'm going to edit all that out. This is the segment that I need you to agree with me, because it doesn't play as well.
Alex, don't cut any of that out.
Well,
Look,
I'm going to cut it out.
I'm an ally, okay? I'm just saying I want you to think about this.
We all in the restaurant industry, we all talk about educating the masses on what's appropriate behavior. I am using our platform to educate the masses on proper restaurant etiquette, and Mary is just not who's bad at improv here, me or you?
Look, you know what, Scott, you know what I think has happened is that I think that I'm too far removed from the industry. Maybe I just
you don't remember where you came from. Sarah, how do you feel about restaurant campers?
I hate it.
Thank you. That's why you're my favorite.
Every aspect. I do.
Wow. You know what?
Well, as a server, I want to make money. And then you think like, okay, they're sitting here a long time. They're going to tip me well. And then they don't. They throw that $3 at you. That's ridiculous.
If you're going to sit there and pay money, like you buy stuff, then fine. If you're going to buy stuff, fine. If you're going to keep ordering drinks, take as much time as you want. But if you're going to sit there and play canasta.
Right. If you're going to keep putting money in my pocket. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. Stay as long as you want.
If you're going to sit there and play canasta or do a Bible study group or play Cards Against Humanity and take up the table.
I don't know what that is. Explain what canasta is.
It's a card game for old people named Mary.
My grandmother's offended. I bet she's never played canasta. I'm going to ask her. Her name's Mary.
Or bridge. She's I don't know. Pinnacle.
Oh my God. Remember we had those.
Bunko.
Okay, I'm on your side now. We had those crazy bridge ladies.
The bridge ladies. Thank you very much.
Man.
I got Mary back
in. Everywhere.
They were the
They
worst.
were everywhere.
They would come in early and they would yell at me, and I was pregnant, and they would want me to put tables together for them because they had extra friends. And you know what? I would put them together, and then they'd get there and they didn't even have extra friends. They were just fat, and it made me mad.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
So I had a lot of rage. You remember that one time I was moving all those tables when I was pregnant and you were just watching me and I got mad at you? Do you remember that?
Okay. In all fairness, I was a substitute at that restaurant that day. I wasn't even supposed to be there. Okay. That was not my home restaurant. And I told you at the beginning of the shift, I hate substituting at restaurants because I'm not going to do anything. So you got this. And I'll manage the front, you manage the back. The back included going to the hole-in-the-wall bar next door to get a new table for the bridge ladies.
To move it all together. Well,
because someone didn't book the private room properly, and that's not my fault. I worked at a different restaurant.
Wasn't my fault either.
Not my problem.
Anyways, yeah, screw those bridge ladies, because then they would hang out there and they would request, like they would order just like they would want pots of coffee, like tons of coffee. And we were a barbecue place. We were not a breakfast place. No offense, Sarah, but you should make a lot of coffee where you work, right? Like you do. You probably have a ton of coffee pots. We had one, just one. And we were not.
I remember it very well, though. when I worked at Olive Garden, you would get like those people who would, have their wine and have their pasta, and then they'd order the dessert, and then they come in with can I have coffee? And you always have to hit them with you're going to have to give me a few minutes because I have to brew it fresh for you, because who the hell keeps coffee on at 9 o'clock at night?
My dad does that. My dad and Rachel both have to have coffee after dessert.
I mean, my husband, hello, it's always going. Coffee is always going.
No, it's weird.
But at the
How
time,
does he sleep?
Caffeine doesn't affect me like that. If you have ADHD, you can go right to sleep
out
after drinking caffeine. It's not a thing for us.
I drink a cup of coffee, I'm out.
Yeah, it's great. Has the opposite effect. Scott's like, where can I get some coffee? I'm just going to start drugging people.
So anyways, eat your damn food and leave, okay? Unless you're going to sit there and spend money, get the hell out of there.
Especially if you're playing bridge. Get the hell out of here.
If you're at a late night establishment, there's no wait. There's plenty of open tables. Take as much time as you want. It's fine. All right, before we get to this week's phone call, and as always, you can leave us a voicemail, 407-906-0543. Before we get to the phone call, I've got a couple corrections to make from last week. So our mystery caller did not identify as gay. His name is not gay. He said, hi, Diz his gang. After I edited it and listened to it, I was like, oops, not gay. He may be gay. I don't know. No judgment. I mean, love is love, but his name is not gay. Also, second correction. My mom was very disappointed that I didn't inform you all that I was named after Scotty Baldwin, who was a character on General Hospital.
Oh my God.
Oh, that explains so much.
So,
of course you were.
It all makes sense now.
So there you go. She'll be happy to know that I corrected myself and explained to you all. All right. We've got a phone call to get to before we do Chris's Cliff Notes. So here we go. Mystery caller.
I am not gay. To prove it, I scrapped my plans to head to Barnes & Noble and drove half an hour to where I am right now, DeSantis Florist. Of course, that is not where I most dream of calling from. Nay, I dream of someday calling from a covered bridge. Yes, though, I'm here today at the Florist to show that I am not gay by showing that I'm instead an ally, and I'm currently protesting outside this flower shop. Of course, it's like 7 a.m. and they don't open for another few hours, so I'm getting some weird looks, but it's worth it for the point I'm making. Excuse me for a moment. I gotta speak to everyone here who's gathered.
We're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. We're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House.
I'm sure you can hear all the pigeons applauding. And if you thought that was a bad transition, wait until you hear Scott start talking about Manscaped this week. Sarah, you have kids, right?
Oh, my God.
Well, I'm here. I wanted to talk about the great and glorious 1987 film, Flowers in the Attic. In this film, there are secrets that Chris and Kathy never knew about their parents. After their father dies, the teenage siblings, along with their younger brother and sister, are sent to live with their cruel grandmother, Olivia. Olivia is disgusted by the children. She knows their mother and father were actually cousins and locks the brood in the attic. The kids then try to keep their spirits high in spite of their bleak situation. Kind of like Chris making more wagers when the gambling's going poorly. His money's disappearing faster than the leg of the guy run over by the sunrail. In honor of Scott having no clue what I was saying last week, what if Helen Keller lost her other three senses?
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. Wow. Helen Keller, she was the one that hid in the attic, right?
Yes.
That was her.
So close.
Chris, you got any Cliff Notes?
I do.
It's been quite the show. A lot of stuff's happened, so nothing can stop this little boy from recapping the day the Chris's Cliff's Notes way.
All right, so I don't remember a lot of these because they were written a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So we started off the show by asking everyone if they do date nights. Sarah replied by saying that she loves going to Chili's. I thought the food poisoning was accidental, but now I see you're going out of the way to get it, so I don't feel as bad.
She's got to stay skinny.
Skinny.
So Scott started talking about how his wife was staying home from work the other day. He went into a panic because he thought that she might have lost her job. Rachel's income is the only thing that can fund Scott's binge smoking and drinking. And what I mean by that is Rachel pays all of Scott's bills. There was no joke. It's a sad truth. Scott went to a burlesque show at a speakeasy. He was super, super nervous to go. Not because of the burlesque thing, but because he hasn't been to a speakeasy since he was bootlegging in the 20s.
That may have been one of your best. That was really funny.
All right. This one's bad. Scott told me that he went to a burlesque show, and the girls were very attractive, as you all heard on the podcast. It's weird because he called me telling me he went to a talent show.
You son of a bitch. That was really bad.
To each their own. So last week, we got a plethora of Ryans for Jersey Man versus Florida Man. After all those Ryans, we get stuck with our least favorite one this week.
I think that's the first time that Ryan's been roasted in Cliff Notes. I love it.
I think it's the second.
Poor Ryan.
Every once in a while. Sarah's food review this week was about Subway, and I was actually on the phone the other day with Scott when I was at Subway. I was telling him how much I love their sandwiches. He told me he wasn't a huge fan of the sandwiches, but he loves Jared and all of his accolades from college.
Wow.
It's his hero.
So, unless you live under a rock, you heard on the news that a Florida man was criminally charged with paying an adult actress hush money this week. Scott, you should have just paid Rachel the money back. I mean, it's getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand now. Mary talked about how horrible bridge ladies are. And to be honest with you, I have no idea what a bridge lady is or what they do, because mainly I spend my days underneath the bridge, occasionally popping out, not allowing people to pass.
He's a troll.
No, thank you, Scott. Thank you.
Maybe new listeners, they need to understand that he's short and fat.
Wow. Wow.
And lastly, when Scott was at the burlesque show, he was very thirsty. He told us that he had white stuff on the edge of his lips from being dehydrated. Nick just calls that being gay. And those are my Cliff Notes.
Oh, God. It's the one that gets us canceled.
It's been quite the show, a lot of stuff's happened, so nothing can stop this little boy from recapping the day the Chris's Cliff's Notes way.
That was really good. So the first segment with the burlesque show, I had a completely different segment in mind, but I was reminded by my wife and the rest of the Clitter Army that I can't talk about that right now because it's a hot.
Wait, what?
The Clitter Army. That's like,
you're gonna have to explain that a little.
That's what she calls like the band of women. Like,
that's interesting.
Yeah, the Clitter Army rhymes with glitter, starts with a C.
I did understand what it meant. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I had a topic that I've been holding on to for a while that I thought was going to be dynamite, and I didn't know if we should do burlesque or this other topic. And she's like, no, you can't do the other topic right now. I'm like, why not? And she's like, because this it's real big with women right now. You can't do it. The Clitter Army says no. I'm like, okay.
Smart.
One little spark of inspiration is at the heart of all creation, right at the start of everything that's new. One little spark,
Hey, it's Alex from Diz His. You know me, you know Joe, you definitely know Chris, and you know Jen. Well, we're the hosts of Diz His, the Disney History Podcast. Every week we take one Disney subject and go over the history, as well as our insight on the subject. We talk about other Disney topics, as well as what's new in the news. You can find us on all podcast platforms, or go to our website, dizhiz.com. That's DIZHIZ.com. And we're on all social media at DizHiz65.
Chris, what do you got coming up on Diz Is?
Well, I'll tell you what, Scott. I usually go into deep thought, usually while I'm showering. about what I am going to say about Nick from Sandpiper Vacations, because this segment is sponsored by Nick from Sandpiper Vacations. So today I forgot, but
to take a shower.
Both, no, because I never forget to think of Nick in the shower. So I'm not taking a shower till after the podcasting tonight. But that doesn't really matter, because I actually got the great privilege of going to the great state of Ohio, where Nick resides, and I was able to meet Nick.
Oh,
and yeah, and he super, super great host. Him and his husband both. I came into their home, and they gave me a cream pie.
Oh, good.
Oh my god!
And
not banana bread.
No, an old fashioned cream pie, and then they took me out, and we the locals called it a Cincinnati three-way, and it was just it was really, really good. I recommend anybody who's interested in that kind of stuff to, if they have a good palate, if they like that little tingling sensation you get on the tongue when you dive into a Cincinnati three-way.
My God.
It's really good, and it's especially
I get the
good
same type of sensation when I meet the Clitter Army.
It's especially good after getting a cream pie, because you have that substance from the cream pie. It cleanses the palate, and then you get the three-way Cincinnati three-way. Don't know what I'm talking about? Google it.
Send us pictures, please. No New Friends Podcast at yahoo.com.
It was I had a really great time. Change. While I'm saying this, Sean, Nick's husband, writes in the chat, the cream pie was homemade. He just wanted to make everything. he just wanted everyone to know the cream pie was homemade.
Wonderful.
They're really both of them together. Really good team. Really good cooks. If you want to visit an old friend, you can reach out to Nick at Sandpiper Vacations. Go to sandpipervacations.com, fill out a free quote, tell him the No New Friends podcast sent you. This week on Diz His Guy, guess what? I do absolutely nothing.
Oh, so like your work.
Exactly. Actually, let's break this down for a second, Scott.
It's very confusing because...
Is that for this week or next week?
So this is what happened. I'll help Chris out.
Yes, please.
So he said that last week was the 200th episode, but April Fool's, it was not the 200th episode. It was a Patreon takeover episode. So the Patreon members took over the episode. Not something that I would ever allow. I'll let them take over segments, but not the show. Sorry. And then this coming up week is the 200th episode. So you're welcome.
Yeah, so, yeah, exactly what Scott said. 200th episode was really cool because I got to kind of like hijack the 200th episode, because I've been there for like 17. And I got to just take credit for the 200th episode. That's basically what Scott does when he does his like tax returns. He takes credit for everything, but it's really just Rachel. So yeah, I finally got to feel like Scott. No, it was really cool. We had a Q&A. It turned out way better than I think anyone could have ever expected. It's a really cool episode of appreciation to the Patreons and all the listeners. But yeah, the April Fool's Day episode, Goof Troop Takeover, which is the Patreon members. Really fun episode. I did listen to it. Really fun episode. Hats off to everybody who was involved in that. So yeah, listen to, I mean, I can't say my usual, like, listen to that if you're interested in, X ride or X attraction. This one, just listen to it because I said so. There's really no other way to say it.
There you go. You can connect with DizHiz. That's DizHiz65 on all social media, DizHiz.com. Don't forget to listen to us on After Dark. It comes out every Wednesday night at about 9 o'clock-ish, and we're going to have part 2 of our interview with Jeremy Miller, who played Ben Seaver on Growing Pains. You knew that because we already interviewed him for part 1. Anyway, we've got some other great podcasts to talk about. I already kind of talked about this one earlier, but Ashes to Awesome podcast with Chuck LaFlange, The Rise from Addiction and Into Recovery. It's a great podcast. Check it out. Also, Don't Wreck Yourself with Don't Wreck Yourself Ryan, who deep dives into things that are wrecking the internet. Wow. And then also the Black Lincoln Collective podcast. Really funny. 2 guys just kind of messing around just like us, and it's really funny. Mary, what you got?
A Mental Health Moment with Dr. Edward Samero. You can find that on Spotify and everywhere else you listen to podcasts. You may notice that there's going to be a small break in episodes, but that's because he's working on something super awesome that he can't do at the same time. So just keep following his website and there'll be some cool stuff coming out, I think.
Is he allowed to give you therapy?
No.
Chris, what you got?
First off, I have the Studio 21 podcast, the baseball podcast. Baseball season is in full swing, no pun intended. Go take a listen to them if you like that kind of stuff. If you don't like baseball, then I probably wouldn't recommend it to you. But actually listen to it. Maybe you'll like baseball again. I don't know. Secondly, we got Big Beautiful Diz. Dane has a YouTube channel, not a podcast. Go to YouTube, type in Big Beautiful Diz. Great YouTube channel if you're a fan of theme parks, Disney in particular. And lastly, we have the Podfather himself. Happy birthday,
The
Remy.
birthday boy, Lord Remy.
The birthday boy himself, where he breaks. I'll tell you what. I listened to his latest episode he had a comedian on in the area, and it was a really fun episode. Really good guest. So listen to Remy's Roundtable if you are into Florida and the Florida theme parks.
Sarah, what you got?
The Nerd Archive podcast talk about all things nerdy. This week, my lovely sister-in-law went to MegaCon. So, yeah. So they're going to be talking about that. You can find that on Spotify and, all the other podcast platforms. All that good stuff.
And Sarah, how can our listeners follow you on Instagram to check out your thrift shop?
On Instagram, Old Soul Thrift, where I sell all kinds of nifty, cool vintage clothes. So check it out there.
And Chris, if our listeners want to follow you, how can they find you?
Oh, my address, like my home address,
Yes,
Scott?
please.
Yeah, why not?
All right, so I live in South Jersey. You'll find out. So you can follow me. What would you like me to plug, Scott?
Instagram.
You can follow me at the Scumbag Reselling Hoarder. Should I plug my personal Instagram too?
That's up to you.
Hey, you know what? Why not? At Chris Yob. If you want to follow me and see all my pictures of my dog, go ahead.
And Mary?
Oh, yeah, I don't update that very often, but you can look at it. Yeah, that's the Queen of Quandary, and then also Mary Samero, which is my maiden name on Instagram. Yeah.
And you can connect with us, nonewfriendspodcast.com. All of our social media links are right there. You can join our clubhouse for as little as $2 a month. Become a friend with benefits and watch us record these things live. Get to see the full Jeremy Miller interview, unedited, uncut. That's not kind of sounds circumcised. But anyway,
oh my God.
You can check that out and all sorts of other stuff. Check out our sweet merchandise. And please, please share this episode. This episode means a lot to me. That was a really cool interview with Jeremy Miller. On behalf of our mystery caller, Game Master Ryan, Alex, our producer, Sarah, Chris, Mary, I'm Scott. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.